the Saxons who went back to Europe. In this video, I will talk about the Saxons who migrated from continental Europe to Britain, and roughly, as historians say, around 450 AD, around there, in the 5th century, to Britannia. But in this video, we'll talk about the Saxons that went back to Europe, to continental Europe and whatnot. So, we're going to be discussing 3 historical sources that talk about this, or implied, or what have you. And let's dive right into it. So our first source is from the Translatio Sancti Alexandri by Rudolfus of Fulda from the 9th century. So, and this says here, according to the Google translation, and for those of you who know Latin, fantastic, and please comment down below what you think of this, that it says here that essentially that the Saxons, who came from essentially Britain, went to Germany. Well, at the time this was known as what? Germania, right? As a region, if you will. And they settled in a place called, as it says here, Haduloha. And at a time when there was a conflict between the Thuringians and the Franks. That's what imply after 450 AD, after the Saxons occupied Britannia, and then, and I guess these Saxons in particular went back. Jumping ahead in time, we have from the Rerum Gestarum Saxonicarumby from Widukindus, Corbeius from the 10th century. He says more or less that regarding the Saxons, that they came to this place, I guess a different variant of a different name variant of the same place, of Hadalaun, and there he even writes the same name but different variant, but Hadalaun, if you will, or different spelling convention. But anyway, but yeah, so the Saxons, it says here that from these countries, ships and whatnot. Okay, so for Widukindus, he has a bit of a... He's a product of his time. I mean, all these figures are product of their time. Because in the previous part that leads up to this, he talks about how there's some mental speculation on like the origins of where the Saxon people come from and whatnot, and how he says here that the Danes and Normans come from the Saxons. And then he hears about a guy preaching about the Saxons were a remnant of the Macedonian army who followed Alexander the Great, but he himself says that it's no doubt that these were an ancient and noble people, right? And then it makes a reference to Joseph's speech. I'm assuming something biblical here from the Bible, Christian Bible. And then I'm assuming, then he has here Agrippa's speech. I'm assuming that's like a Greco-Roman literature reference, possibly. I don't know. It could be Agrippa. When I see that, I think of like Greco-Roman literature, what have you. Because we have the poet Lucan mentioned here as well. So possibly Agrippa's speech to the Jews. I don't know whether this is related to. And we're dealing with the 10th century here. So by this time, during this time there was a trend that in regards to the Anglo-Saxons in England, there was this idea going around that our ancestors were Jews, or our ancestors were Trojans or whatnot. For that, by the way, I highly recommend to check out the video Hebrew Anglo-Saxons, a Medieval Conversion Tactic by Survive the Jive, Tom Rousseau. He does a great video on it, and how he goes into, just to go a little in depth about it, well, where that saying of that, our ancestors were actually Hebrews, that was just a tactic. It was just a way of trying to convince these Anglo-Saxons, to accept Abrahamism, when really that's not true at all. It's just a way of saying, hey, join us, without saying join us, right? So anyway, let's move on. So we have from the Gesta Hammaburgensis, ecclesiae, pontificum, from the famous Adam of Bremen in the 11th century. He says the same thing as the first guy. Let's go back to the first guy. The first guy, our buddy in Fulda, Rudolfus. Rudolfus. Okay, so he says here, yeah, the people of the Saxons, who, as antiquity relates, descended from the English inhabitants of Britain, and sailed across the ocean and were brought to the shores of Germany, or Germania, by the pursuit of necessity of seeking a seat in the place of a Hando Loha. And again, we mentioned the same scenario with with the Thuringians and the Franks, which is interesting of itself. This makes me think about too how, like, if this, the fact that it says it's people from Britain, this is after the migration from continental Europe to Britain, and then we have King Alfred, who late in the 9th century, he called the Germanic language there English, as the political move, because the demographic they were mostly Angles, and so this would make sense in what Adam and what Rudolfus is saying, and implied by Widukindus. That would explain the demographic change in Britain, right? And for those who want to know a bit more about that, what I just said there about King Alfred, please check out the video, Why Did the Saxons Call Their Language English? Link is in the description below. So moving on. So we have Rudolfus of Fulda in the 9th century, who says it, that the Saxons were from Britain and they came back to, they came to continental Europe. Then we got Widukindus, who says, he implies it. And then we got Adam of Bremen, who says it. So thus, we can conclusively say that in this video that we're family. We're definitely family. So, Wesath ye hail. Yeah, that's Old Saxon, by the way, not Old English. It looks like Old English, doesn't it? But anyway, but where is this place called Hadulaun or Hadulaun? Or where is it? Well, it's right here. It's in Handelen. No, pardon me. Hadel, I think that's how you pronounce it. And this place, if that's the case, where the 500s, where these Saxons from Britain came there, this would explain, this area we see there in that vicinity, being occupied by what we later know as the stem duchy of Saxony, which around 1000 AD. So yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you're new, and if you really like the channel, please become a patron at my Patreon page down below. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.